Well, this pandemic has turned all of our lives upside down. We are forced to live with an unknown virus that has never been dealt with during our lifetime. That has left so many of us living with fear and anxiety. So the question is, how do we cope? Jim Fannin calls himself America's Zone Coach, and he's the author of The Blueprint, a proven plan for successful living. And he is joining us this morning by Skype. Thanks so much for joining us, Jim.
Good morning, Sylvia.
It's so nice to see you. And, you know, this is something that you've worked in the past, not with the coronavirus, but with helping other people and athletes dealing with anxiety. So when you are dealing with an unknown in a situation like this, our biggest fear is fear itself, it seems like. But what does that actually do to our psyche?
First of all, Sylvia, the average person has 2,000 thoughts every single day. 80%, this is before COVID-19, was in the past and the future. We need to stay out of the past. We see something on television and we put it on a loop, a negative replay, or someone says something to us, we put it on a negative replay. Then we use our imagination and project it into the future, and that's the anatomy of worry. We need to stay out of the past unless it's to have a belly laugh with an old friend by phone or Skype. And we need to only go into the future for planning, strategy, and tactics. We have an opportunity to have a spiritual reboot, a mental reboot, a physical reboot in our lives, a complete reboot. And I've got a whole bunch of recommendations that we could get going and really upgrade everything that we're doing in our lives right now. We have an opportunity. It's very positive.
So the first one you've just already touched on, I was going to ask you about, because we have your list that you sent us, and that is don't dwell on negativity. And so the other side of that, you say, is to have extreme positivity. What does that mean?
Well, that means you need to think about what you think about. Shoulda, coulda, woulda. Those are negative phrases. Those are negative statements. I can't, I won't, I can't believe this is happening. This is ridiculous. So being a judge of what's going on or being a victim of your individual, we're all in the same condition, but we're all in different circumstances and different situations, depending on whether we have a job, lost a job, have a company, don't have a company, living alone, living with 5, 6 in our family in a small house. We need to think about what we think about, and we need to keep this positivity going and keep negative from our children, because stress runs downhill.
Absolutely.
If we're negative, if we're a victim, if we're a judge, our kids are going to pick that up.
Absolutely.
And it won't be long before they're doing the same.
Okay, let's go. I'm going to go through the next few with you real quick. So one of the things you say, which I think is interesting, even in this time, your recommendation is have a 30-day plan. What do you mean by that?
Nothing great happens without a blueprint. On May 1, I could learn Spanish by that time. Have a plan. Have some routines that are set. Wake up at the same time, go to bed at the same time, eat at the same time. Exercise. And the most important thing, we need to go to bed thinking extreme positive. Every thought you have in the last 30 minutes at night, that's recorded by your subconscious and replay during the entire night. You go to bed thinking about bills and negative things in your life, that's going to be replayed during the night. That's why you won't have a good night's sleep.
Well, I love that
So we need to get these positive routines in place with a plan.
I love that suggestion, but how do I make sure I go to bed with positive thoughts? Because, you know, your mind is racing 1,000,000 miles an hour. What do I do?
When you go to sleep, the first thing you want to do is get your breathing lower, under 10 breaths a minute. The average person probably has 15 to 20 breaths a minute. So when you go to sleep at night, no offense to the television, but I probably would not watch TV at night. I'd listen to music. I'd make sure that the room temperature is low so I can get a better night's sleep. And I would just avoid talking about money, talking about anything negative with my significant other. Listening to music will do it. And this is about putting the phone down also in the last 30 minutes and staying really out of the past. But the last 30 minutes, Sylvia, is crucial to think about what you think about, and it needs to be positive, something in the future.
Okay, I'm going to think about you tonight, and I'm going to make myself be positive. I'm going to take some deep breaths. And finally, you say to all of us, make sure that you reconnect with your family. And this is, if you could give us a short answer for this one, since we're running out of time, I'd love to hear what you have to say.
If you say these 4 words with your child right before they're sleeping, I believe in you, and you whisper it, you rub their hair right before they're going to sleep. If you will do that 3 to 4 times a week, guaranteed within 14 days, their self-esteem will improve.
Wow.
Very simple. I believe in you. I think it's the 4 most powerful words that a parent could possibly have. And I've got a whole bunch of tips on a podcast every Thursday. One is keep stress from your children. And you can go to jimfannin.com to get that podcast. We need to keep stress away from our kids.
Okay. Oh, I love that. You just gave me chills. I believe in you. That is beautiful. I think that's a tip not only for our children, but for ourselves and for our loved ones. Jim, thank you so much. Great advice. We appreciate you joining us.
Thank you. Go get my blueprint. It's time to get a new blueprint in your life.
Okay. You've got me convinced. Thanks again. Take care.
Bye-bye.
All right. There it is.